Number 10. The Maui Fund scandal. Now, who would have guessed that the woman famous for handing out cars on her talk show is being cancelled by the entire world? Why? Well, Oprah made a career-ending mistake when herself and Dwayne Johnson broke the one rule of being a billionaire. Don't ask poor people for their money. Last week, Oprah and The Rock announced that they would be starting a relief fund for the victims of the Maui wildfires. The People's Fund of Maui was given a solid $10 million to get off of the ground. $10 million donated by Oprah and Dwayne combined. So why is it just Oprah that's getting so much hate online? Well, it's because she has a net worth of roughly $2.8 billion. Billion with a B. The world is collectively furious at Oprah for having the audacity to ask working class citizens for charity when most people can barely afford to put food on their tables. The Rock and Oprah donated $5 million each to give the fund a head start. Well, guess what? $5 million to Oprah Winfrey is like $500 to us. Like, it's still a lot, but it's chump change to her. Oprah addressed all the hate online, telling the Daily Mail that she was disappointed in the reactions from the world rather than focusing on the good things and the people of Maui. The world was mad that she asked them to give her a nickel. Well, Oprah has yet to confirm if she'll be donating any more to the fund, but so far it's not looking like she will. Number 9. Her controversial beliefs. Oprah has had plenty of controversial people on her show, from so-called medical experts to psychologists to celebrities. Whatever is good for TV, it's good for Oprah. One particular incident that caused a ton of backlash for Oprah was when she did an interview with Suzanne Summers. She was brought onto the show to share her beauty secrets on how she was able to look so young. According to Summer, this treatment that she does on a regular basis will help. Suzanne claims that she rubs estrogen cream into her skin on one arm and smears progesterone in her other arm. Progesterone is just a fancy way of saying steroids. She also claimed that she took 60 supplements and vitamins a day, 40 in the morning and 20 before bed. What really stirred the pot was this woman claiming to be a health expert and a so-called self-help author. But surprise, surprise, a doctor she is not. Medical experts started bashing Oprah, claiming that this type of extreme hormone therapy would actually be the cause of several diseases and illnesses. You know, like cancer. Despite Suzanne's claim that her specially made, non-FDA approved bioidenticals are natural and safe, they're actually just synthetic conventional hormones that you can buy from a pharmacy. Oprah did everything in her power to sell this idea to her audience, believing 100% that these methods were useful, and even claimed that she used the methods herself to make herself feel incredible. So this lady would rather risk her audience getting cancer than just telling them the truth. Solid. Number 8. The free cars. Who could forget Oprah's famous words? You get a car, you get a car, everyone gets a car! The moment was historical on her series and was parodied time and time again, and it still does to this day. However, what many people don't know is that it was not as simple as, here are the keys, have fun. When someone gives out anything on television, there is always a catch. For Oprah's audience, the catch was that if they wanted to drive away in their brand new car, they would have to pay $7,000 in taxes first. While Oprah's studio would cover, the sales tax and the registration for the vehicles, the audience members were given a choice to either pay the $7,000 and take the car, or just kind of take the cash instead. The infamous moment on the show featured 11 real teachers who were, according to Oprah, in desperate need of a new car. They, along with the audience members, received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be for their new cars. Everything has a catch even now though. For someone who is known for being super charitable and generous, the word free clearly means something else to Oprah. Number 7. She will never marry Stedman. Oprah and her partner Stedman have been together for a long time, but have never actually gotten married. While Stedman has never explained why this is, Oprah shared her side of the story. According to Oprah, getting married would mean that she would not be able to have her own life, claiming that everything she had built on her own would be at risk, like he was some kind of a career parasite or something. The strangest part about her logic behind this is the fact that she said on air that she wanted Stedman to propose to her as soon as possible, so not sure what that is. Their relationship has survived a lot despite the years of rumors and speculations. However, a source close to Oprah said that in her 4 years working with the show, she could tell that there was absolutely nothing there with Stedman. Oprah just wanted to portray herself as a woman who loves her man, when in reality Stedman probably has a house separate from Oprah's, but it's like 1/5 the size. Number 6. The NDAs. Confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Marvel will literally have someone take you out if even a single line leaks to the public. In Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions the confidentiality agreements that co-workers and guest stars were always made to sign. This included everyone from Tom Cruise to the person who made Tom Cruise's muffin. Over 500 staff members were forced to sign the document. One former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was apparently stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement that she had signed. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to keep just show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. According to Elizabeth, the document was signed by almost everyone in Oprah's life. She may have this brand of sweetness and kindness, but apparently that's not how she actually is. Elizabeth felt that she was in Oprah's pocket after she signed the paperwork. In 2010, a lawsuit was even filed against Oprah and her company because Unicus Performance Training claimed that they were fired for violating the terms of this agreement, specifically involving advertising with her name, or the website of the show. That makes no sense. Number 5. Diva. On air, Oprah is portrayed as a wholesome, sweet lady, but according to her stepmother, there is an unknown side to this woman, hidden from fans for years. According to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people that you will ever meet in your life. She claims that Oprah would not allow them to stay at her house when herself and her husband would try to visit, forcing them to stay in hotels with money out of their own pockets. Barbara also said that Oprah was quick to anger when it came to her staff, with several people being fired left and right over the years for the littlest things. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara allows her to stay at her house when she visits, something that Oprah apparently hates. The first time she actually stayed at her stepmother's place, Oprah allegedly complained that her bed sheets were not 1,000 threads and that her bath towels were not big enough. Okay, that one I can forgive. Ever use a giant towel? I'm never going back. This woman has billions of dollars to do literally anything she wants, and apparently what she wants is to make her family feel like a burden. Number 4. The vegan cleanse. Now when I learned about this next entry, I was genuinely shocked that Oprah Winfrey's show was never considered a toxic working environment. It turns out Oprah was a powerful woman when she was running the show. Oprah was an advocate for a ton of things on her show, but the one thing that she really doubled down on were her views on animal rights. Organizations like PETA praised Oprah for her advocacy, especially when she took it a step further by making her staff join her on a 21-day vegan cleanse. Now, while the cleanse was optional, if you signed up, there was no backing out. You were going to be vegan for 21 days or you were fired. Now, it was never actually confirmed if there was a penalty for leaving early, but according to one employee who participated in the cleanse, they were afraid to back out because Oprah was just so demanding. Oprah was a very serious woman behind the scenes, so we can only speculate what might have happened had she spotted a PA eating a Baconator. Number 3. Spiritual beliefs. Now I'm going to start this entry by clarifying I'm not making fun of your beliefs, okay? If you are spiritual, if you're a spiritual person in any way, shape, or form, please know this entry is about Oprah and Oprah alone, okay? In an interview with Harper Bazaar, Oprah mentioned her daily morning routine that starts at 8:30 in the morning with various spiritual exercises. After reading Gathered Truth, she opens up an app called Bowl of Sake that delivers teachings of the Sufi, followed by some light meditation. The controversy here comes from Oprah inviting several self-fulfillment gurus onto her show and just gushing about one specific one named Guru Gary Sukhav's preachings. Now, Oprah herself has claimed to have secret spiritual knowledge about tapping into personal courage and giving general spiritual advice, but she stopped diving too deep into spirituality after this backlash from her fans and readers of her magazine. They just didn't like that about Oprah. Number 2. Wild Child. Several books have been published about Oprah over the years, some from her and some not. In her own book that she wrote, she revealed that growing up she was far from an easy kid to handle. When she was young, she was sent to live with her father Vernon after Oprah was caught stealing from her mother's purse. Despite being an on-screen persona known for charity and kindness, she was actually a menace throughout most of her life according to family members. As I mentioned previously on this list, Oprah's stepmother is not allowed to stay at her house and she's known to be pretty controlling. She admitted to doing some pretty troubling things at a young age, including staging an amnesia bout, breaking several things in her mother's home, and calling the police. According to Oprah's mother, she was uncontrollable, ungrateful, and after robbing her, maybe a little crazy. And at number 1, her buddy, Dr. Phil. Oprah is not just responsible for many hopes and dreams being squashed live on air, but she is also the creator of many talk show celebrities, namely health expert Dr. Oz and life coach Dr. Phil. Now, before Dr. Phil had his own show, Oprah had asked him and his courtroom consulting firm to help her with a trial. Before meeting Oprah, Phil had zero interest in being a television personality, but Oprah made him see the light, so to speak. According to Phil, she helped him understand the power of these shows and what they were truly made for. For Phil, he brings people on his show who are struggling with personal issues that just so happen to be good for television. Remember that Catch Me Outside girl? Dr. Phil made her rich and famous. But it's not just Phil that's had some controversial moments though. Her other protege, Mr. Dr. Oz, has had some pretty rough moments. His show is centered around medicine and health, bringing so-called experts on every week. My mother loved this show. Oprah was partnered with both of these people, meaning that whatever their shows made, she got a little something for her trouble. She doesn't like to advertise how much she made from these programs, but considering how many episodes they have done and how long the programs have been on for, it's probably a lot.
Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Mariah Carey. The two ladies have had a friendship for many years, but there was a moment in their friendship where Ellen's humor proved to go too far. The big debate with comedians is, are their jokes funny or are they actually mean? Mariah believes that this one was a bit mean, but she did handle it well despite the fact. What happened was she went on Ellen's show to do an interview, and Ellen brought up the rumors that were going around at the time that Mariah might be pregnant. Right away, Mariah says, "Let's not talk about that." But then Ellen takes out 2 glasses of champagne and tries to force her to drink it to prove that she's not pregnant. Mariah is hesitant, and it might be because she was in her early stages of pregnancy at the time, and oftentimes females don't want to reveal it because in the first trimester, miscarriages are common. Sadly, Mariah did have a miscarriage and revealed the news later down the road. I personally watched this video and I did not find it funny. I feel like forcing someone to drink alcohol to prove if they're pregnant or not, like, I get the joke, but probably not a good one, Ellen. Up next, number 9 is Dakota Johnson. Back in 2019, the actress sparked a fire on the internet after she went on the Ellen show for an interview. The two of them have had this ongoing debate on whether or not Ellen has been invited to Dakota's birthday parties. In 2018, Dakota admits that she didn't invite Ellen because she didn't know that she would want to be invited. So she invited Ellen in 2019, but Ellen didn't show up and gave no explanation. But when Dakota went on her show, Ellen called her out and said that she didn't invite her to her birthday party again. The tension was super awkward to watch, I'm not gonna lie. And Dakota says, "Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer." Ellen's producer live ends up confirming that she was invited and didn't go. You can tell that Dakota was not taking Ellen's this time and was making sure that everyone knew that she was invited. Not sure why Ellen was trying to make it look like she wasn't, but the whole thing was super awkward. Like, I wish they could have just removed that whole part from the interview. Swiping the number 8 spot is Mark Ruffalo. You're probably wondering what the hell kind of beef he has with Ellen. It all just seems very random, not gonna lie, and it kind of is. Remember when the world went to a frenzy because Ellen was sitting with George Bush at a Dallas Cowboys game? She received a ton of hate for it, but did a monologue on her show where she said that they are friends despite their different beliefs. Like she always does, she spoke about kindness and said that she chooses to be kind to everyone. But Mark didn't agree with that and let his feelings out in a tweet. He wrote, "Sorry, until George W. Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, including American-led torture, Iraqi deaths and displacement, and the deep scars, emotional and otherwise, inflicted on our military that served his folly, we can't even begin to talk about kindness." Clearly, he does not agree with Ellen's decision on who she chooses to have in her friend circle. Rolling into number 7 is Kelly Ripa. She was one half of the morning show's favorite couples. Her and Michael Strahm were co-hosting Live with Kelly and Michael from 2012 to 2016. But then Michael suddenly announced that he was leaving the show to join ABC's Good Morning America, and his relationship with Kelly began to crumble. Most hosts decided to remain neutral on the conflict, but Ellen invited him on her show, which hurt Kelly's feelings. Source said that Kelly was livid and said, I quote, "Cozying up with Michael was like telling the world she had taken his side and she was taunting Kelly." People had different opinions on the situation though. Some believe that Ellen's decision wasn't intentional, while others thought that she knew what kind of outcome would come from it. Moving on to number 6 is Kathy Griffin. Alright, so they've had drama for a while now apparently. It's been an ongoing feud and it all comes down to whose side of the story you will believe. In 2016, she published a tell-all book called Kathy Griffin's Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In the book, she dished out dirt on about more than 100 celebrities, and Ellen was one of them. She wrote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards. I can't prove it, but this person, who has short blonde hair, has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." But Ellen denies the story and says that Kathy is the mean one. Rumors were claiming that Ellen banned her from her show, but Ellen spoke about it during the interview and said, "I didn't ban her from the show, because first you have to be on the show to be banned." Shots fired. Ellen is sassy. Halfway into our list, number 5 is Caitlyn Jenner. Back in 2015, Caitlyn went on Ellen's show and made a shocking confession, or so it seemed. During her interview, Ellen asked her what her stance was on same-sex marriage, and she said that there was a time that she did not support it. Ellen fired back at her immediately and made it seem like she wasn't supportive of the LGBTQ community. And then, after the interview, Ellen took shots at Caitlyn while talking on the Howard Stern show. She said she was unfairly passing judgment about gay people and marriage. But it turns out that that wasn't the case, and Caitlyn was not happy that she was trying to paint her in that light. Caitlyn opened up about the full story and said that she had actually talked to Ellen on the phone prior to taping the interview and convinced her to discuss her shifting stance on marriage equality. But then Ellen kind of flipped the switch on her during the interview and made it sound like she was against it. That all does seem pretty sketchy. And at number 4 is Joan Rivers. The icon has passed away and is not able to speak on her side of the story anymore, but Kathy Griffin chose to tell it, which is also one of the reasons that her and Ellen still aren't very friendly with each other. Kathy opened up to Variety and said, "One of the things that really hurt Joan, and we talked about it at our last meal together, was that Ellen always shunned her and Ellen thought she was vulgar and not funny." Apparently, despite all of their drama, Kathy still reached out to Ellen to check if she was going to do a tribute for Joan after she died in 2014, but claims said that Ellen did not want to. Kathy finished her story by saying that she wished Ellen would have celebrated her more because she has such an incredible platform, and Joan was the one who broke the glass ceiling for women talk show hosts. So she should have gave like a really nice tribute to her, is what most people believe. Coming into number 3 is Nikki Tutorials. The YouTuber went on Ellen's show for an interview earlier this year and was quick to go on the internet and start sharing how bad her experience was. Like Ellen, Nikki is also a big influence in the LGBTQ community after coming out as transgender on her channel. Before her interview, she gushed online about how excited she was to go on the show because she was a big fan of hers. But after the airing, she said that Ellen didn't even say hi to her before going on stage and said that the whole experience just felt very cold and distant. She also admitted that she didn't even have a place to go to the bathroom, claiming that the closest bathroom to her was reserved for the Jonas Brothers and that she was not allowed to use it. I feel like that's kind of illegal. Where was she going to the bathroom then? Swiping the number 2 spot is Susan Sarandon. She too did not agree with Ellen's speech about being friends with George W. Bush. When Ellen spoke about the controversy on her show, she said, "I have friends who don't think the same things that I do. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people who think the same way you do. I mean be kind to everyone." Susan tweeted a response and posted a quote from Out magazine saying, "But missing the point entirely, DeGeneres framed the issues as simply a matter of her hanging out with someone with different opinions, not a man repeatedly accused of being a war criminal." Clearly, I just think that everyone's gonna have their own opinion on that situation. If Ellen can pick and choose if she's friends with George Bush or if she's not, yeah, I feel like that everyone's gonna have a different opinion on that. And I'm gonna keep mine to myself. In the number 1 spot is Kevin T. Porter. You know things are bad when a comedian offers donations online in exchange for stories about Ellen being one of the meanest people alive. His words, not mine. That is right. Kevin tweeted out that he would donate to Los Angeles Regional Food Bank if people would share a story when Ellen was mean to them. He quickly got over 2,000 replies with people sharing stories of her being rude. He was wanting to show everyone that Ellen is not what she appears to be and thought if people could see all of these stories at once, it would help shed some light on that. He was exchanging $2 for every story, but then it got hard to tell which stories were real or not, so he just donated $600 and then attached the screenshot of his receipt. So he actually did donate the money. However, I feel like you are going above and beyond to try and expose someone for being mean. And isn't that kind of mean?
Number 10, Angelina Jolie. You would imagine that two people who consider themselves to be humanitarians would agree on something, but apparently that is not the case between Angelina Jolie and Miss Oprah Winfrey. According to an insider close to Oprah, Angelina actually refused to help her launch her Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls in South Africa. According to the source, Oprah reached out seeking celebrity sponsorships and public backing for the project. But when she reached out to Angelina, she was met with a swift no. Oprah assumed that Angelina, of all people, would jump at the chance to represent such an incredible cause, especially considering how much Angelina apparently loved Africa. But the no was a devastation, and she would never ask for Angie's help ever again. Many people believe that the hate towards Oprah stems from her decision to publicly side with Jennifer Aniston after she split from Angie's ex, Brad Pitt. Hey, to be fair to Oprah, the split came literally weeks before Brangelina became public, so I'm just saying. Number 9, Ice Cube. Ice may have gotten his career thanks to his epic music chops, both as a solo artist as well as during his time with the NWA, but these days you probably know him as the guy from Ride Along or 21 Jump Street. Ice Cube started acting in movies in 1991, debuting in the film Boys in the Hood as Doughboy. He continued to act over and over again, starring in movies like Friday, Anaconda, and Are We There Yet? His dislike for Oprah comes from the fact that while he has starred in several movies and has become more widely known for that, she has never invited him onto her show. She's even asked his co-stars to appear rather than himself on multiple occasions. In 2006, Ice Cube expressed his frustrations, saying that his barbershop co-stars Cedric the Entertainer and Eve were invited onto the show while he was left onto the sidelines. He pointed out how crazy it is that Oprah has all of these people with dark pasts and straight up convictions. Plus, if he wasn't a rags to riches story, who the heck was? We got a little piece of that story in the film Straight Outta Compton in 2015, which is a film that received massive critical success and that was never mentioned on Oprah's show. Ever. Not once. Number 8, Seal. This man may be known for his vocal chops, but he should be known for his meme-making abilities. Just days after the Golden Globes in 2018, Seal posted a meme on Instagram consisting of several photos of Oprah Winfrey cozying up with a man whose name I am not allowed to say on the internet because he's so heinous. He's the guy who produced half of Quentin Tarantino's movies, he's the main cause of the Me Too movement, and for the rest of this entry he shall be referred to as Jabba the Hutt, because he kinda looks like him. Oprah and Jabba were photographed spending time together, and one photo even made it look like Oprah was pushing singer Rita Ora towards Mr. Hutt. Seal captioned the image saying a bunch of stuff that I can't quote, gosh darn internet. The meme itself read, "When you have been part of the problem for a decade, but suddenly they all think you are the solution." I'm not sure how deep this feud goes, but on the surface it seems that Seal has been trying to warn us that something's going on for quite some time. Number 7, Ludacris. Luda! Sorry, I just needed to get that out of my system. Ludacris appeared on Oprah in 2004 to promote the film Crash. He claimed that Oprah ambushed him with criticism about hip-hop lyrics instead of talking about the actual critically acclaimed movie that he was there to plug. Luda has since claimed that Oprah edited the show to make herself seem more favorable to the audience members, and he said during a separate interview that she edited out all of his comments and kept her own in. Of course, it's her show, but they were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave Luda a hard time as a rapper when he came on the show as an actor. Luda revealed that his interview was extremely last minute, not knowing if it was a real thing until roughly 24 hours before. Following the interview on Oprah, she pulled Luda aside to the green room where he claims to have been berated by the talk show host. According to Oprah, having a rapper on her show made her feel like she was empowering them. He said it was like being at someone's house who just really didn't want you there. At that point, he had already been so uncomfortable, but that was just a little bit of cherry on top of the sundae. Her main concern was his use of the N-word in lyrics, but he quickly pointed out the hypocrisy of having people like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock on the show who were famous for using that slur in their sets. Oprah's shadiness was on full display following the interview from Luda. Nope, I can't say it normally. I'm sorry. Number 6, Monique. The beef between comedian and actress Monique and Oprah Winfrey dates back to 2010. Monique won an Oscar for her performance in Precious from 2009, and leading up to the film's premiere, Winfrey interviewed Monique's brother, Gerald, who Monique claimed to have been very physical towards her growing up in a truly dark way that I really can't get into. In a since-deleted Periscope video, Monique claimed that she gave Winfrey her blessing to do the interview, but was shocked and disgusted when her parents were in the audience. In the years that followed, Monique eventually forgave Oprah for creating such an uncomfortable moment for herself and her family, and while forgiving Oprah, she does continue to say that she would never forgive her parents for the role that they played and for not doing something about the situation that was happening right under their noses. Oprah really needs to stop bringing people on the show to talk about some dark stuff. It's just not fun. It's just not fun. Number 5, Whoopi Goldberg. In author Kitty Kelly's unauthorized Oprah biography, Kelly claims that Whoopi Goldberg became a persona non grata, aka an unwelcome person, to Oprah after Whoopi was nominated for an Oscar for her role in The Color Purple. The book noted that following the honor, the comedian never appeared on Oprah's show again and was noticeably shunned from her 2006 Legends Ball. It wasn't until Oprah invited the entire cast of The Color Purple onto the show that the so-called feud was addressed. It turns out that Oprah had actually ran into Whoopi at Tyler Perry's party sometime after the 2006 snub. Goldberg confronted Oprah, leading to a hilariously adorable moment between them. She asked Oprah why she was mad at her, to which Oprah replied, "Why am I mad at you? I thought you were mad at me." They mutually agreed that they really should have just picked up the phone a long time ago and settled the dispute, so to say. Number 4, David Letterman. A majority of the world believes that Oprah's feud with David Letterman dates back to 1995 after he made an awkward joke at the Academy Awards. But Letterman claims that their beef actually started a lot earlier than that. According to an interview between David and late night host Jon Stewart, David claims that his feud with Oprah began many years before the Oscars. He explained that he ran into Oprah when they were both on vacation with other people. He explained that she was with Stedman at the time, and David was with his then girlfriend, Regina. David decided it would be really funny to prank Oprah one day at lunch. The story goes that the waiter walked past him, and he simply pointed to Oprah and said, "This woman right over there has been kind enough to take care of our checks." And then they got up and left Oprah with the bill. Yeah, I'm not surprised that she's not stoked about that. Even millionaires don't appreciate sneaky people. Winfrey has never cited that as being the source of her anger, though. Apparently, she felt that the feud began when she was a guest on his talk show in 1986. David continued to make rude jokes at her expense and made her feel extremely uncomfortable. She did not speak to him for 16 years after that. David is a strange man, especially when it comes to female guests, so it's not a surprise that she was uncomfortable the whole time. Number 3, 50 Cent. The rapper once referred to Oprah as an Oreo in the January 2006 issue of Elle magazine, complaining that the talk show queen started out with the views of a black woman, but was now catering to the middle-aged white American woman for so long that she became one herself. His words, not mine. Cent even named his miniature schnauzer Oprah as a dig at the talk show host. During an episode of Oprah's The Next Chapter, Cent was invited on to discuss the situation and clear the air. Oprah visited 50 at his grandmother's house for the interview, where he explained that his frustrations lied with Oprah's lack of hip-hop artists on her show and just how much she detested the use of the N-word. He claimed that he had seen moments on the show when she would discuss her feelings on rap culture and everything that was wrong with it, going on to say that she would occasionally target his music directly. According to Cent, he called Oprah his enemy in the exchange, and he has never spoken to her again. Number 2, Joan Rivers. The late Joan Rivers actually publicly fat-shamed Oprah Winfrey on live television during her first ever live TV appearance. Great way to start a relationship. Oprah spoke out about the incident in her book Food, Health, and Happiness, and in one entry she tells the story of appearing on The Tonight Show in 1985. All was going smoothly and she was starting to settle into her role, and that was when she was asked the one question she did not prepare for. Joan Rivers asked Oprah how she gained the weight. According to Oprah, she was just stunned because Joan just asked her on live TV how she was so fat. Her words, not mine. I'm not calling Oprah fat. We do not fat shame here, obviously. Joan was acting as a guest host at the time, sitting behind a desk that was not hers, telling Oprah that she was fat. That is like next level rude. In the years that followed, Joan claimed that she loathed Oprah, allegedly calling her rise to fame completely opportunistic. For years, she believed that Oprah's only so-called claim to fame was her gift to exploit people's suffering and emotions and turning them into TV ratings. Oprah has brought on a lot of people who are suffering from serious hardships, but this is a popular format for many people, like Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz. Man, there are a lot of doctors on TV, huh? Dr. Oprah, I guess that just didn't have a nice ring to it. And at number 1, Chris Brown. Chris was in some hot water in 2009 after Oprah hosted a domestic violence episode in which she showed footage of Chris's infamous video involving his then girlfriend Rihanna. After the episode aired, Chris took his frustrations to People magazine, which is a good place to go. He commended Oprah for addressing the fact that it was a problem, but that it was a slap in his face. He went on to tell people how much he had done for Oprah over the years and how this was a massive betrayal, telling her to be more helpful. Okay, Mr. Brown. Oprah released a statement later saying that she was very appreciative of his help and charity, but that she takes domestic issues very seriously. Chris doubled down by retaliating against Oprah, telling her that she was bashing him and tearing him down rather than building him up. Well, we all know how most celebrities feel about Chris Brown these days, so I think she was in the right there.
In at number 10, embarrassed her own audience. Now, not all of these reasons for Ellen's career falling apart have happened recently. In 2017, Ellen was beloved by everyone, but some started to view her in a more negative light when she embarrassed one of her audience members live on TV. Ellen had set up a table with cheap gift bags and had her team put in a hidden camera. When one of the guests grabbed an extra bag for a family member that couldn't make it to the taping, Ellen just put her on blast.
I like that you like the product so much that you wanted to bring one back for your sister, but now when you go like to Costco or
The worst part is that Ellen embarrassed her in front of the entire studio audience as well as everyone watching at home. All she could do is just laugh along with everyone else in this very awkward televised moment. It's very lazy of her to just embarrass her own audience for a game, and everyone saw right through it. In at number 9, she exposed Mariah Carey. Back in 2008 when Mariah Carey came onto The Ellen Show, there had been rumors circulating that Mariah may be pregnant. However, instead of respecting her wishes to not mention these rumors or further speculate, Ellen forced her to address it.
I'm not going to ask you if you're pregnant or
This
not.
is peer pressure. Do you see what Ellen is doing? This is peer pressure.
No. Let's toast to you not being pregnant if you're not pregnant.
You see, Ellen wanted to be the first one to break this story of Mariah's pregnancy, and to do so she brought out alcohol to force a confession. Now, clearly if Mariah was pregnant, having alcohol would be a terrible idea, but why does Ellen feel like she's in charge of this information in the first place? Despite all of Mariah's refusing to take part in Ellen's game, she was eventually backed into a corner. She then takes a small sip from the glass that prompts Ellen to start shouting that Mariah is pregnant. Sadly, Mariah Carey would have a miscarriage just a few weeks later. Good job, Ellen. In at number 8, rude to YouTubers. Most of the time, Ellen fawns over celebrities, but it's rarely celebrities that come from any other realm than Hollywood. For example, when she had YouTuber Nikki Tutorials on the show, she was treated far worse than any of the other guests. The makeup guru said that her appearance on The Ellen Show has reminded her to never meet her idols. Upon arriving on set, Nikki recalled that Ellen didn't even say hello to her, adding, "Call me naive, but I kind of expected to be welcomed with confetti cannons, welcome to the Ellen DeGeneres Show, but instead I was greeted by an angry intern who was a bit overworked," which actually brings us to our next point. In at number 7, strange rules for her staff. When Kevin Porter tweeted out, "Right now we all need a little kindness, you know, like Ellen DeGeneres always talks about. She's also notoriously one of the meanest people alive. Respond to this with the most insane stories you've heard about Ellen being mean and I'll match everyone with $2 to the LA Food Bank." And the responses were overwhelming. However, for this point, let's focus in on the ones about the bizarre rules for her staff. Benjamin Simeon said, A, she has a sensitive nose, so everyone must chew gum from a bowl outside of her office before talking to her, and if she thinks you smell that day, you have to go home and shower. You have to go home and shower? Who does that? What a weird power move. You smell, so stop working, go home, shower, and then come back and stay late. Chelsea Babcock then said, "When I was working on At Midnight, our stage manager told us to never work for Ellen. He told us that she had signs up in her office that say, 'Do not look the host in the eye.'" I'm sorry, but that's far from normal. don't look her in the eye, that's just a bizarre rule to have. In at number 6, she bailed on her staff. When the pandemic shut down all of the studios in Hollywood, Ellen was faced with a tough choice. She has spoken about how much she loves and appreciates her staff, so you would think that in these difficult times that she would have at least kept them in the loop. The core stage crew though for the show had a staff of more than 30 employees, yet they received no written communication about the status of their working hours, pay, or inquiries about their mental and physical health from producers for over a month. Then when they finally were notified, nearly all crew members were told to brace for a 60% reduction in pay, even as the show continued to air from Ellen's home. The worst part is that she hired a non-union crew to replace the staff she apparently cared so much for. Oh, and then she said her mansion felt like jail.
One thing that I've learned from being in quarantine is that people, this is like being in jail, is what it is.
Hashtag never forget. Never forget that she said her mansion felt like a jail cell. In at number 5, rude to regular people. Going back to that original tweet from Kevin Porter for a moment here, a lot of people who didn't work for Ellen but had interactions with her otherwise also popped into the conversation. A.D. Rose said, "My friend waited on her and she threw a plate of salmon in his face because it wasn't what she ordered." That one seems like pretty wild, right? But when you read on, there's several more servers and wait staff that have also complained about her. Take Chris Farah for example. She said, "I worked at Real Food Daily and served her and Portia at brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but that it was just on my hand. I had worked till closing the night before and this was next morning. Almost got me fired." She tried to have this woman fired because she had chipped nail polish. I'm sorry, but if that makes you so mad that you have to sit down and write a letter, you need anger management classes. In at number 4, she was caught lying. When Dakota Johnson came on the show, we really got to see that Ellen is not afraid to lie right to someone's face. She said happy belated birthday a month after Dakota's birthday, like, at that point, why even televise how forgetful you are? Then following that awkward moment, she starts digging into Johnson about not being invited to her birthday again, which leads to Dakota calling her out on that lie.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
Pretty nuts that she was rude to her the last time she was on the show and then again right when she came back. She even insisted that she was never invited just to cover up that she was out of town hanging out with President Bush. Speaking of, in at number 3, friends with enemies. Ellen hanging out with President George W. Bush really was the breaking point for a lot of her fans. Ellen has been a strong advocate for gay marriage, and so when she buddies up to a president who has advocated against this for his entire time in office, it's a little gross to see. CJ writes, "Laura and George Bush sitting with Ellen and Portia is not something I expected to see at an NFL game. You and everyone else, CJ." Ellen trying to play this off as simply two people with differing opinions hanging out and setting aside their differences. That might be true for regular people, but for two individuals that hold a position of power, we expect a little more. I said it before, but I'll drop his name again. Walker Bregman said it the best. Walker tweeted, "Here's the thing, Ellen, George W. Bush is a war criminal who is responsible for death on a cataclysmic scale. It's not a matter of being friends with people with different beliefs. We all have those friends. It's about having a little perspective on the damage that he's done." In at number 2, mean to people with disabilities. So not only has Ellen had a mean streak with guests, celebrities, and even her own audience, turns out she's especially not a fan of people with disabilities. Within the Kevin Porter tweet, Josh Levesque replied with this: "A friend of mine told me about a custodian she knew who was fired because he was slightly autistic and forgot that he wasn't allowed to look at or speak to her, and he loved greeting everyone." Now, not on Ellen's watch. I mean, rules are rules, buddy. I don't care if you're autistic, what disability you have. You look Ellen in the eyes and you're out. Just the rules of the Ellen Show. Then there was this heartbreaking one. Lindsay Jamba tweeted, "My brother is a Make-A-Wish kid. His wish was to be at the 12 Days of Ellen, which was arranged 1 month before they canceled because Ellen refuses to interact with disabled people." Crushed his heart. That's messed up and something that any person just can't ignore, whether you're a fan of hers or not. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, refused to honor Joan Rivers. Whether Ellen wants to believe it or not, Joan Rivers paved the way, especially for female comedians who wanted to break into the mainly male-dominated world. Joan Rivers did so much in the world of entertainment, so when she passed away, it was upsetting for a lot of people. Most late-night shows did tributes to remember Joan, but Ellen did not. Now, Brett Hawkins tweeted this out, and it makes a lot of sense as to why she refused to honor Joan. Kathy Griffin said that when Joan Rivers died, Ellen staunchly refused to do a tribute to her because her comedy and Kathy's were the wrong kind, too mean-spirited. Then he goes on to say that how we love a pious comic. What's worse to realize after reading that tweet is the fact that sometimes the people who claim to be nice are actually very mean behind closed doors. They use this image of being a philanthropist and kind person to mask the demons that they're trying to keep under wraps. Ellen is one of them. And Marlene's pointing at me too.
Number 10. Angelina Jolie. Despite both of these women being public advocates for a ton of different charities and organizations, when the idea of them working together came to the table, the last thing that Angie wanted to do was help Miss Winfrey out with anything. According to an insider close to Oprah, Angelina actually refused to help Oprah launch her Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. According to the source, Oprah reached out seeking celebrity sponsorship and public backing for the project, but when she reached out to Angelina, she was met with a swift nah. Oprah assumed that Angelina, of all people, would jump at the chance to represent such an incredible cause, especially considering how much she actually loved Africa. But the no was a devastation, and she would never ask for Angie's help again. A lot of people believe that the hate towards Oprah stems from her decision to publicly side with Jennifer Aniston after she split from Angie's ex, Brad Pitt. So she didn't want to help launch a school for girls in another country because Oprah chose sides once. That's mature. Number 9. Jason Momoa. This man is a few things. Aquaman, the enemy of Dom Toretto, and now he's the man speaking out on Oprah and the Maui scandal. Jason Momoa is a gifted actor and overall seems like a good guy from what we can tell. And a few weeks ago, he posted a video urging tourists to steer clear of the island. Throughout the video, he asks that all those who do not live on the island year-round just stay home, remain there, we don't need you here. Many celebrities began to point out the fact that Oprah had just purchased property in Maui before the fires, and she had been making regular visits to the island. It was believed that he was directing his comments directly at Oprah. Now, so far, neither Jason nor Oprah have actually commented on each other's positions when it comes to the Maui Fund. Jason has been vocal about his wish to contribute in assisting to the people of the island, but when he speaks about the Maui Fund, he simply refers to Dwayne Johnson, and that's about it. The two of them have paired up online to raise awareness for funds, but so far there is no mention of Oprah's name anywhere. Number 8. Rachel Ray. While Rachel was once Oprah's mentee, being a celebrity chef turned into a publishing and TV giant, in 2007, she was caught using racial slurs in reference to Oprah. Good job, Rachel. According to Hollywood insiders, Rachel had been indulging in a lot of no-no juice and food with one of her colleagues. As the night went on, she became more and more annoying, loud, and aggressive. Rachel apparently called Oprah a few things that I'm honestly not comfortable repeating, even though for some reason I'm allowed to say it on the internet, which is weird. Rachel essentially started berating Oprah for her background and skin color, believing the moment to be private. A rep for Rachel denies that this conversation ever took place. However, another source confirmed the story, adding a few other horrible sentences that I'm again not gonna repeat. Oprah never publicly called Rachel out, but she also never defended the woman, and it seems that Rachel has some kind of a grudge and blames Oprah for every single thing that's ever happened to her that's wrong. Well, it's her fault. Number 7. Chris Pine. Chris Pine is not just the go-to guy when Hollywood wants to start a new franchise. He is also a side character from time to time. Isn't that neat? In 2018, he starred alongside Oprah Winfrey and a slew of other actors in the Disney film Wrinkle in Time. While Chris and Oprah shared a minimal amount of screen time together, it may have been on purpose. Oprah is no stranger to the acting world. She got her big break in The Color Purple, but as time went on, she became better known as Oprah, the lady who gave out free cars and told people to believe in themselves. Chris does not speak all that much about Oprah, especially when it comes to his time on the project, but when he does, it's short and simple. Like, if he goes too far into detail, he may end up saying something that he's gonna regret. Oprah has yet to star in another film since, so maybe Chris Pine has more pull in Hollywood than some people think. Number 6. Tom Cruise. The moment that Tom Cruise almost destroyed Oprah's set with his enthusiasm will go down in history as the most chaotic interview to ever be recorded on this planet. In 2005, Tom got a little excited thanks to his engagement to Katie Holmes. Now, the interview consisted of jumps, flips, Tom trying to snap Oprah's wrists, and finally a Paranormal Activity style moment where Tom is running around the studio just just looking for Katie. Following the interview, Tom was mocked relentlessly by both Hollywood and fellow TV hosts and personalities. As the years went by, the hate never really slowed down. The interview was never forgotten about, and Tom became a difficult man to sell in the eyes of Hollywood. He started starring in a lot more movies produced by himself. Now, I'm not saying that the interview is the main reason this guy's career is different, okay? I'm just saying that it's when we started to notice that he was crazy. He became so unhinged in 2005, and he was just chaotic from then on. He's never outright looked at the camera and said, "I hate Oprah," but his hesitancy to return in recent history is proof enough that he was just a little bit too hyped for Oprah on that day. Number 5, Ludacris. Ludacris appeared on Oprah in 2004 to promote his movie Crash. Now, he claimed that Oprah ambushed him with criticism about hip-hop lyrics instead of talking to him about the critically acclaimed movie that he was, there to talk about. Luda has since claimed that Oprah edited the show to make herself look better to the audience. He said during a separate interview that she edited out a lot of his comments while keeping most of hers in. Now, of course, it's her show, but they were doing a segment on racial discrimination, and she basically gave Luda a hard time for being a rapper when he came onto the show as an actor. Luda revealed that his interview was extremely last minute. He didn't even know he was going on that stage until about 24 hours beforehand. Now, following the interview on Oprah, she apparently pulled him aside to a green room where he claims to have been berated by her. According to Oprah, having a rapper on her show just made her feel like she was empowering them, and he said it was like being at someone's house when they didn't want you to be there, which is awkward. At that point, he had already been uncomfortable, but that was just a little cherry on top. Her main concern was, of course, his use of the N-word in lyrics, but he quickly pointed out the hypocrisy of having people like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock on the show who were famous for using that slur in their sets. Oprah's shadiness was on full display following the interview from Luda, and they will probably never work together or see each other ever again. Why would he want to be in the same room as her? That sounds very uncomfortable what he just went through. Number 4, Whoopi Goldberg. In author Kitty Kelly's unauthorized Oprah biography, she claims that Whoopi Goldberg became a persona non grata, aka an unwelcome person to Oprah, after Whoopi was nominated for an Oscar for her role in The Color Purple, and Oprah wasn't. The book noted that following the honor, the comedian never appeared on Oprah's show again and was noticeably shunned from her 2006 Legends Ball. It wasn't until Oprah invited the entire cast of The Color Purple onto the show that the so-called feud they had was addressed. Now, it turns out that Oprah had actually ran into Whoopi at Tyler Perry's party sometime after the 2006 incident. Goldberg confronted Oprah, leading to an adorable but awkward moment between them. She asked Oprah why she was so mad at her, to which Oprah replied, "I thought you were mad at me. I'm not mad at you. What?" They just agreed that they should have had a phone call at some point and squashed everything, but I don't know. We have that little subconscious voice in the back of our head telling us to do stuff for a reason, right, Whoopi? Number 3, Ice Cube. Ice Cube may have gotten his career thanks to his epic music chops, both when he was a solo artist as well as during his time with the NWA. These days, you probably know him as the guy from Ride Along or the captain from 21 Jump Street. Ice Cube started acting in movies in 1991, debuting in the film Boys in the Hood as Doughboy. He continued to act over and over again, starring in movies like Friday, Anaconda, Are We There Yet?, Snakes on a Plane. He really likes animals. His dislike for Oprah comes from the fact that while he has starred in several films, he's become more well-known for those. In fact, she's never actually invited him onto the show. She has even asked his co-stars to appear rather than himself on multiple occasions. In 2006, Ice Cube expressed his frustrations, saying that his barbershop co-stars Cedric the Entertainer and Eve were invited onto the show while he was just kinda left on the sidelines. He pointed out how crazy it is that she's had all these people with dark pasts and convictions. Plus, if he wasn't a rags to riches story, who was? He was freaking Ice Cube. If you want to know anything about him, just watch Straight Outta Compton. It's a great movie and his kid plays him. So seriously, it was an incredible film, got massive success, and it was never mentioned on Oprah Winfrey's show. So that sucks. Number 2, 50 Cent. The rapper once referred to Oprah as an Oreo in January of 2006, complaining that the talk show Queen had started out with the views of a black woman but was now catering to the middle-aged white American woman for so long that she became one herself. That is a direct quote from the magazine article. 50 Cent said that. Scent even named his miniature schnauzer Oprah as a dig at the talk show host. During an episode of Oprah's The Next Chapter, Scent was invited onto the show to discuss the situation and to just kind of clear up the air. Oprah visited him at his grandmother's house for the interview, where he explained that his frustrations lied with her lack of hip-hop artists on her show, and like I said, how much she detested the use of the N-word. Now, he claimed that he had seen moments on the show when she would discuss her feelings on the rap culture and everything that was wrong with it, and it felt like a personal attack directly towards him. According to Scent, he called Oprah his enemy in the exchange, and he's never spoken to her ever again. And at number 1, Monique. The beef between comedian and actress Monique and Oprah Winfrey dates back to 2010. Monique won an Oscar for her performance in Precious in 2009. Leading up to the film's premiere, Oprah interviewed Monique's brother, Gerald, who Monique claimed to have been very physical towards her growing up in a really dark way that I'm not gonna get into, and I can't. In a since-deleted Periscope video, Monique claimed she gave Winfrey her blessing to do the interview, but was shocked and disgusted when she realized that her parents were asked to be in the audience. In the years that followed, Monique eventually forgave Oprah for creating such an uncomfortable moment for herself and her family. While forgiving Oprah, she continues to say that she would never forgive her parents for the role that they played on the show, in the moment, and of course in the past for not doing anything about the situation that was happening.
Kicking off our list at number 10 is how she treats her staff. She's always had a reputation for producing a show that is filled with laughter, positive vibes, and kindness. But it turns out that this might not be the whole truth, and a source came forward saying that she treats her staff like they are her peasants. They came forward and said when the cameras aren't rolling, she treats staffers as if they are her peasants. She doesn't even brief the staff about the show anymore. They also alleged only a few lucky people are actually allowed to talk to Ellen when working on set or even looking her in the eye. This mystery source was very passionate about their bad experience and went as far as saying that Ellen plays favorites just to create tension and jealousy. Apparently, Ellen selects which staff to invite to fun events and then leaves the other ones in the dust. Up next, number 9 is Caitlyn Jenner felt burned by Ellen. Back in 2015, Caitlyn made a shocking confession while doing an interview on her show, saying that there was a time she didn't support same-sex marriage. She was asked about her stance on it, and she said, "At first, I was not for it." Ellen was offended and took shots at Caitlyn while talking on the Howard Stern show. She said she was unfairly passing judgment about gay people and marriage. Maybe she didn't want to dance with me on the show because I'm lesbian. But Caitlyn was quick to set the story straight and didn't like Ellen's untrue response. She expressed that she talked to Ellen on the phone prior to the interview taping and convinced her to discuss her shifting stance on marriage equality. But then Ellen kind of flipped the switch on her during the interview and made it sound like she was against same-sex marriage. But apparently she's not. And apparently Ellen never even asked her to dance, and she said she would have loved to dance with Ellen. Who doesn't want to dance with Ellen? Making our way to number 8 is the time that she defended Kevin Hart over a homophobic tweet. She angered a lot of her fans back in 2019 after she interviewed the comedian when he stepped down from being the Oscar host that year. If you missed all of that drama, he was asked to host the Oscar until homophobic tweets from his past resurfaced, and the only way that they would let him host is if he apologized for it. He ended up stepping down from the host position and refused to apologize because he already apologized for them in the past. One of the tweets from 2011 was a joke about what he would do if he caught his son playing with a dollhouse. He tweeted, "I'd beak it over his head and say, 'Stop, that's gay.'" But he refused to apologize, and Ellen actually brought him on her show and supported his decision to step down. She called the people attacking him about his tweets haters and actually encouraged him to not let it destroy him. It comes across very hypocritical, especially after the whole Caitlyn Jenner story I just told you. Like, you were mad at her for not agreeing with same-sex marriage, but this guy straight up posted a homophobic tweet and you're in support. I get that it's not coming across in the right way. Sliding into the number 7 spot is she did not support a writer's strike. Back in 2007, there was a writer's strike and Ellen carried on with the show anyways. She respected the picket lines for one day, but then returned to the studio the following day. She claims that she didn't have to actually follow the legal actions required, and when she filmed the next day, she said, "I love my writers, and in honor of them, I'm not gonna do a monologue." She felt that it was enough to give up the monologue part of her show, but the truth is, she was not supposed to create new episodes at all. The union condemned the decision to move forward and wrote in a statement that Ellen was not welcome in New York, where the show was scheduled to film in a few weeks' time. The Writers Guild of America wrote, "It's sad that Ellen couldn't even stand by writers for more than one day. Writers who have helped make her extremely successful. I'll love your show, but you can't just make a show when there's a writer's strike." Coming to the number 6 spot is she was sued for making fun of a woman's name. It was a very weird lawsuit back in 2016 when a Georgia-based real estate agent named T.T. Pierce sued Ellen for making a joke about her name. It happened during her "What's Wrong with These Ads and Signs" segment when she joked and called her Titty instead of TT. In the lawsuit, Pierce pointed out that Ellen knew her name was pronounced TT and that she faced harassment following the episode. The case was ultimately thrown out, and the judge said that the letter I in the English language can be pronounced several ways. This one will kind of depend on whose side of the story you believe. Ellen's producers did say they never intended to hurt anyone's feelings, but many people believe that Ellen knew that she was just making fun of her on purpose, obviously for the joke of the segment. Halfway through, we have the time she made Corinne Olympius uncomfortable. She was another celebrity who guest appeared on Ellen's show and went on to say that the experience wasn't so nice. She talked about it while speaking on The Morning Breath in 2017 when she was asked if the rumors were true about Ellen being a diva behind the scenes. She admitted that the show isn't what it seems to be and that there's truth that people don't get to see from Ellen. She kept things pretty vague, but said that she felt uncomfortable when talking to her. She said that before the taping, she was super excited because she was a big fan of her, obviously, and said it felt like she'd be talking to Dory from Finding Nemo, like the lovable goofy blue fish, played by Ellen. But the experience was different for her, and she said, "I've kept this in for so long, but to be honest, Ellen just made me a little uncomfortable." And for obvious reasons, Ellen denied these claims. Well, to be honest, she just didn't really comment on it altogether. Kind of like an eye roll thing to this whole story. We're at number 4 now, and we have the inappropriate comment about Katy Perry's breasts. Ellen swears that her heart and mind were in the right place when she tweeted out a birthday message for Katy saying, "Happy birthday, Katy, it's time to bring out the big balloons." But it was followed by an image of Ellen with her wife staring at Katy's breasts. The picture was obviously a joke. Both Katy and Ellen's wife are both laughing in it, but fans were not impressed and they actually started a trending hashtag double standard. People weren't impressed, even fellow celebrities joined in on the hashtag. Piers Morgan tweeted, "If a man made this joke, Ellen would lead the cries of sexist pig." People actually claimed that her tweet contradicted her Me Too monologue where she criticized sexual harassment and said it is not a male or female thing. Of course, Ellen is a comedian and said that the tweet was just meant as a joke. Taking over the 3rd spot is when she made Kathy Griffin cry. I feel like that is not an easy thing to accomplish. In 2016, she published a tell-all book called Kathy Griffin's Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In the book, she dished some dirt about more than 100 celebrities, and Ellen was one of them. She wrote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards. I can't prove it, but this person who has short blonde hair has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." But Ellen said that it's not true, so you kind of have to judge if she is lying or not. Ellen said her piece on the situation and called Kathy very mean. She said, "She did a whole thing that I banned her from the show. I didn't ban her from the show because first, you have to be on the show to be banned." I'm interested to know, who do you believe? Do you believe Kathy Griffin? Do you believe Ellen? I want to know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Taking over the number 2 spot is her charity led to an IRS nightmare. One thing she's known for on her show is all the generous gifts and donations that she gives to people in need. In 2013, she helped a woman named Shonda Fields after she lost her job as a substitute teacher. She gave her whole family approximately $55,000 to help everyone, and of course, they were overjoyed. But later on, tax collectors in Ohio threatened her with jail time for failing to pay $1,700 in taxes for the non-employee compensation awarded to her by The Ellen Show. She ended up having to pay a fine, and fans were actually shocked to hear about it. For some reason, people started coming at Ellen and her team, saying that it's not fair to award people large sums of money that they're gonna have to pay taxes on. Some people said that she lies about the fine print when she gives away all of these prizes on her show, and that they really aren't what they seem to be. I actually have a small fun fact for you. My friend got on The Ellen Show as a nurse, as a guest, guest, and she got to play one of those games and actually won a prize. And she did get her 2 TVs and her check for $20,000. So all I gotta say is, it might be true. There might be some truth to these prizes. In the number 1 spot is Nikki Tutorials. The YouTuber recently went on Ellen's show for an interview and later spoke about her bad experience. Similar to Ellen, Nikki is a big influence in the LGBTQ community after coming out as transgender. And before her interview, she gushed online about how excited she was, only to admit that the experience wasn't what she thought it would be. She said that Ellen didn't even say hi to her before going on stage, and said the experience was just cold and distant. She also admitted that she didn't even have a place to go to the bathroom. Is that even legal? Nikki explained and said, every guest at Ellen had a private toilet, but I didn't. I couldn't even use the closest toilet to me because it was reserved for the Jonas Brothers. They were allowed, but I wasn't. Even looking back though, my interview got 8 million views and theirs only got 2 million. Ha! Of course, Ellen is saying that these claims are not true. I don't know if she's lying.
Number 10, Cindy Crawford. Model and actress Cindy Crawford has called Oprah out over their 1986 interview that took place on her show, where Oprah asked the then 20-year-old to expose herself to the crowd. Crawford reflected on the interview in a new documentary called The Supermodels on Apple TV+. I swear everybody's got a plus these days. The documentary spotlights the careers of several models like Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, and of course, Cindy Crawford. In a clip from the documentary, Winfrey is heard introducing the then aspiring supermodel to the Oprah Winfrey show before she asked her, "Did she always have this body? This is unbelievable, stand up." Now that's what I call a body. Yeah, I know that's not a good Oprah Winfrey, but hey, who cares? She is visibly uncomfortable and sheepishly stands up before the studio audience cheered as she showed off her figure. According to Cindy, she felt like a child in that moment being told what to do by her superior. She felt that the moment was more of a show us why you're worthy of being here type situation than anything else. At the time, this was just some weird thing that Oprah asked her to do, but eventually it morphed and mutated into one of the most uncomfortable moments of her early years in modeling. The most shocking thing for Cindy was the fact that this was Oprah Winfrey trying to tell her what to do. This woman known for kindness and generosity was just making her feel like a puppet. Number 9, Seal. This man may be known for his vocal chops, facial scars, and many other things, but he should be known for the meme-making abilities that he holds deep within. Just days after the Golden Globes, Seal posted a meme on Instagram consisting of several photos of Oprah Winfrey cozying up with a man whose name I'm not allowed to say on the internet because he is just so heinous. He's the guy who produced half of Quentin Tarantino's movies, he was the main cause of the Me Too movement, and for the rest of this entry, I'm gonna refer to him as Java the Hutt, because he looks exactly like him. Oprah and Java were photographed spending time together, and one photo even made it look like Oprah was trying to push singer Rita Ora towards Mr. Hutt. Seal captioned the image saying a bunch of stuff that I'm not allowed to quote because gosh darn internet and their rules. The meme itself read, "When you have been part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they think that you are the solution." Now, I'm not sure how deep the feud between Seal and Oprah really goes, but on the surface, it seems like he's been trying to warn us about her for quite some time. Number 8, Ice Cube. Ice Cube may have gotten his career thanks to his epic musical chops, both as a solo artist as well as his time with the NWA, but these days, you probably know him as the guy from Ride Along or 21 Jump Street. That's right, he's the captain. Who Schmidt? Well, let's not get into it. Ice Cube started acting in movies in 1991, debuting in the film Boys in the Hood as Doughboy. He continued to act over and over again, starring in movies like Friday, Anaconda, and Are We There Yet? His dislike for Oprah comes from the fact that while he has starred in a ton of movies and he's more widely known for it, she has never invited him onto his show. She even asked his co-stars to appear more times than himself on multiple occasions. In 2006, Ice Cube expressed his frustrations, saying that his barbershop co-stars Cedric the Entertainer and Eve were invited on the show while he was just kind of left on the sidelines. He pointed out how crazy it is that she has all of these people with dark pasts and convictions onto the show, and besides, it's a whole rags to riches type deal when she brings people on, and if Ice Cube wasn't a rags to riches story, then who was? Now, we got a little piece of that story in Straight Outta Compton, but we'll talk about that another time. His feud with Oprah has been long-standing, and so far it's looking like he is definitely on the opposing opposing side of this whole Maui situation. Speaking of which, number 7, Jason Momoa. Aquaman, the enemy of Dom Toretto, and now the man speaking out on Oprah's Maui scandal. Jason Momoa is a gifted actor, and by all accounts he seems like a gifted person too. Recently, several news outlets have claimed that Jason is on the opposing side of the fund. According to these outlets, Jason posted a video to Instagram in which he addresses the fires and offers his own support to the victims, but while never mentioning anyone by name, he mentions that some may use this as a way to exploit or to make profit, but that wasn't his intention. The clip went viral, and as you can guess, outlets were interpreting everything they could from it, with the biggest headlines being, Jason Momoa calls out Oprah for wildfires. Now, while not completely inaccurate, the general consensus is that there is no bad blood between these people. Jason has yet to specify who would profit from this, but since the backlash, he's actually been posting videos on a regular basis, updating his followers on the situation and his position in assisting so far. Of course, Jason has donated money to the People's Fund of Maui, and he even teamed up with Dwayne Johnson to do public functions and collaborations to help raise awareness and scrape together as much money for the people of Maui as possible. Speaking of Dwayne Johnson, number 6, Dwayne Johnson. When it comes to this whole Maui Fund situation, there is one person that keeps being left out of the conversation, and it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, Johnson is of course one of the most bankable men in Hollywood, starring in several franchises and jungle-based movies, but he's decided to partner with Oprah to create this People's Fund of Maui and donated $5 million of his own money to match Oprah's donation. Now, The Rock received a large amount of criticism, but not nearly as much as Oprah. The main reason being is that The Rock has a significantly smaller net worth. He's still only a millionaire, okay everybody? He's just as poor as the rest of us. Thousands of his followers have defended him rather than pass judgment. Let's face it, $5 million is still a ton of money, and it's gonna make a lot of people very happy. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of information regarding his position towards Oprah at this time. The comments on their posts have been turned off, and the People's Fund of Maui has raised a ton of money since this whole backlash thing started, so at least there's something good coming out from all this negativity. Number 5, Angelina Jolie. You would imagine that two people who consider themselves to be humanitarians would agree on something, but apparently that is not the case between Angelina Jolie and Oprah Winfrey. According to an insider close to Oprah, Angelina actually refused to help Oprah launch her Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls in South Africa. Take a sip every time I say Oprah. According to the source, Oprah reached out seeking celebrity sponsorship and public backing for the project. When she reached out to Angelina, she was met with a swift "no thank you." Oprah assumed that Angelina, of all people, would jump at the chance to represent such an incredible cause, especially considering how much Angelina just loved Africa. But the no was a devastation, and she would never ask for Angie's help again. A lot of people believe that the hate towards Oprah stems from her decision to publicly side with Jennifer Aniston after she split from Angie's ex Brad Pitt. Hey, to be fair, the split came a couple of weeks after. You know what? I'm not gonna get into Brangelina. That's drama for a different story and a different list. Number 4, Tom Hanks. Rumors have been circulating online that Tom Hanks may have received some inside information on the Maui wildfire situation that pertain to Oprah. Now, a ton of videos have been published online in the last few days claiming that Oprah orchestrated the Maui wildfires and hired a private team of firefighters to make it look more legit. Now, according to several media outlets, Tom was made aware of a secret plot because he's just so close to Oprah. The two have been known to share the occasional night out and some pasta. Now, well, it turns out that these were just rumors. In fact, they were actually created by an AI. Someone told a computer somewhere to write a story about Tom and Oprah, and the computer came up with Oprah sets Maui on fire, which is very dark. While it's a catching thumbnail and surely a fun little bit of information, the reality is that Tom has absolutely no idea what's going on. When asked about his position on the Maui Fund, he has had nothing but positive things to say and is actually a little bit disappointed with the reaction from the world. When America's dad tells you he's disappointed, you gotta listen. That's harsh. Number 3, Ludacris. Luda! Sorry, just gotta get that out of my system, do it a couple of times. Ludacris appeared on Oprah in 2004 to promote the film Crash, and he claimed that Oprah ambushed him with criticism about hip-hop lyrics instead of actually talking about the critically acclaimed movie that he was there to plug. Luda has since claimed that Oprah edited the show to make herself seem more favorable to her audience members. He said during a separate interview that she had edited out a lot of his comments while keeping her own in. Now, of course, it's her show, but they were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave Luda a hard time as a rapper when he came on the show to be an actor. Luda revealed that his interview was extremely last minute. He didn't even know he was going to be on the show until about 24 hours beforehand. Following the interview on Oprah, she pulled him aside to a green room where he claims to have been berated by the talk show host. According to Oprah, having a rapper on her show made her feel like she was empowering them. He said it was like being at someone's house who just really did not want you there. At that point, he'd already been uncomfortable, but that was just a little cherry on top. Her main concern was, of course, his use of the N-word in lyrics, but he quickly pointed out the hypocrisy of having people like Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock on the show who were famous for using the slur in their sets. Oprah's shadiness was on full display following this interview with Luda. No, sorry, it's like a Twitch now. Number 2, Kitty Kelly. In Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions the confidentiality agreements that co-workers and guest stars are made to sign, as well as a couple of other dark details. Now, the NDAs included everyone from Tom Cruise to the person who made his muffins. Over 500 staff members were forced to sign these documents, and one former employee, Elizabeth Cody, even tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to just keep the show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. The book also contained information from a source close to Oprah, who said that in her 4 years with the show, she could tell that there was absolutely nothing there with her partner, Stedman. Oprah just kind of wanted to portray herself as a woman who loved her man on TV, but Stedman has always felt like this side character in her world, never really getting his moment to shine. The book revealed a million things, but the common theme was lies, lies, and more lies. Number 1, herself. Oprah Winfrey is taking the top spot on the list of people exposing Oprah because she's been doing it since day one. Her talk show is all about bringing the most vulnerable people on to get views. She's brought violence victims, health experts, fake psychologists, and convicted felons onto her program, all for the sake of profit. As the years went by, her style was adapted by more and more studios, making shows like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, which were both equally as controversial. Not to mention a few years ago when she wrote a book detailing her life and rise to the top, revealing some truly dark truths about her home life. She herself was considered to be a tyrant by her family, but it seems that whatever negative juju was happening in that house has permanently rubbed off on Oprah.
In at number 10, unconventional childhood. Growing up, Ellen didn't really have a typical upbringing because her parents full-on believed in Christian Science. They essentially used the word of the Bible as their guide to eternal life, which includes how they take care of people when they're sick. It was a system of belief that caused Ellen a lot of physical and emotional pain in her life. The worst part of her childhood was that her parents actually never took her to see a doctor, nor did they give her any medicine when she was feeling ill. Now, I'm sure most of her fans would accept Ellen's Christian Science past, but others may feel alienated by it, so she keeps it pretty under wraps. As a result of being raised in a Christian Science household, Ellen was never even vaccinated as a child. Another secret she doesn't want you to know about. In at number 9, she's a terrible boss. When the pandemic shut down the world, the wealthy among us had a moral choice to make. If you owned a business, do you then give from what you have to keep your employees paid? In Ellen's case, she had a tight-knit and dedicated crew that outlasted a writer's strike and still stuck by her afterwards. Yet when they needed her help, Ellen and her net worth of $400 million said nope. What's worse is that she hired a non-union crew instead to run her show from home. So you force them not to unionize and then turn around and show them exactly why they should have. The backlash comes after Variety reported that Ellen's staff were given no information and entirely left in the dark after filming for the show stopped in March. Oh, and then she said her mansion felt like jail.
One thing that I've learned from being in quarantine is that people, this is like being in jail.
By the way, that's a $27 million mansion. Feels like jail. In at number 8, not welcome in NYC. When the writer's strike kicked off in 2007, Ellen found herself in a strange situation. Because she also writes for the show, she's a fully paid member of the Writers Guild of America. So when the Writers Guild of America went on a strike that lasted from November 2007 to February 2008, she was forced with a tough decision. Does she support her fellow writers or cross the picket line and go to work? DeGeneres showed her support for the strike, but on November 9, 2007, 9 days into the strike, she revealed that she would be crossing the picket line. The strike is believed to have cost the Los Angeles entertainment industry over $1 billion in revenue. Following Ellen's decision, the show ran as usual, just without the opening monologue. Unfortunately for Ellen, the Writers Guild of America were furious. They even said that she was not welcome in New York City anymore. In at number 7, she has a mean streak. In Kathy Griffin's new book, Celebrity Run-Ins: My A to Z Index, she said, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmys Awards." She then goes on to say, "I can prove it, but this person who has short blonde hair has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." And I don't think she's talking about James Corden. According to former employees of Ellen's show, this mean streak theory holds up. One insider said, "She's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. She's so nice to celebrities, but Ellen's demands that junior staffers don't speak to her, touch her, or even look at her." Turns out she's just rude to most people when the cameras are turned off. In at number 6, Ellen Not So Generous. In May of 2019, Ellen had country star Blake Shelton on the show and among other questions repeatedly brought up his relationship with Gwen Stefani. She then even gifted him with a large clock of the pair kissing that was supposed to encourage them to get married. The clock being a reminder that time is well ticking. Well, when he came back on the show in December of 2019, and other than him being embarrassed by again Ellen asking more questions about his personal relationship, we found out that he actually never received the clock. And Blake took full advantage of his time on the show to expose Ellen for not actually giving these gifts to her guests, but instead recycling them whenever she wanted. In at number 5, Lies for Good TV. When Dakota Johnson came on the show, we really got to see that Ellen is not afraid to lie if it makes for good television. First and foremost, she said happy belated birthday, then asked how it was because she didn't get an invite, which leads to Dakota calling her out on that lie. I just can't believe that on top of that, she also was rude to her the last time that she was on the show. Why would you want to come back after that? Now, either she's really forgetful or has lied so many times that she just can't keep track of it, because the next part of that interview was confusing to say the least. She then insists that she was never invited and even turns to her producer to clarify that there was no invitation. Her producer then says, "You were invited, but you were out of town at that thing." And then the plot thickens because that thing is coming up next. In at number 4, Fame Over Values. So not only did Ellen lie about not getting a birthday invitation to Dakota Johnson's party, but that thing that she was doing out of town was even tweeted by her. She says, "Yes, that was me at the Cowboys game with George Bush over the weekend." Ellen was then blasted on Twitter for hanging out with former Republican President George W. Bush. Bush was the president for 8 years and fought against gay marriage. He even wanted to make a constitutional amendment in 2004 that would define marriage as a union of a man and a woman. I believe Walker had the best take on this though. He said, "Here's the thing, Ellen. George W. Bush is a war criminal who is responsible for death on a cataclysmic scale. It's not a matter of being friends with people with different beliefs. We all have those friends. It's about having a little perspective on the damage that he's done." Well said. In at number 3, publicity stunts. In a bizarre turn of events, in order to distract from the negative attention that attending a football game with a war criminal brings, Ellen just kissed Howard Stern. While on the show, Stern made note about how under fire she was over the George Bush photo. He then explains that he's on her side and that booking him was a great idea. Howard then suggests that if the pair were to kiss on television, it would switch the focus to them. The really hilarious part about all of this is just how open they are with it. Anyone with a brain can see that she's creating these publicity stunts to drum up controversy and get more name recognition. However, if you were to ask Ellen, she would never admit that it was all just a cover up to hide her mistakes. In at number 2, took money from school kids. In 1984, California voters approved the state lottery with an understanding that 34% of sales revenue would go towards education. However, in December, the company just gave Ellen a ton of scratch tickets to just give away to her audience. In fact, each audience member received a $500 bundle of scratchers tickets from the California State Lottery. Now, of course, they both saw this as a publicity boom, but a whistleblower from inside the company is suggesting that it was a misuse of funds. The total face value for these tickets was just over $200,000, and by just giving away these lottery tickets on her show, Ellen and the lottery company should be held responsible for that loss. The weird thing is that they even mentioned how the revenue from the tickets goes towards education in Los Angeles. Then she just turns around and accepts the gift with no money exchanged to the charity. Last but certainly not least, in our number 1 spot, Portia moved out. There have always been rumors that Ellen and Portia's marriage wasn't actually going well, and speculation would rise every time Ellen was seen not wearing her wedding ring. Although once being locked down in quarantine with each other and Ellen coming under attack recently for so many things, Portia has officially moved out. Instead of living in the home that they purchased together in LA when they got married, an insider source said that Portia has been living in Montecito Heights for weeks. The source went on to say Ellen tries to appease her by giving her whatever she wants, like her art company and buying any home Portia falls in love with. However, some time apart will do them good. They love each other so much, so I don't think they're about to give up on their marriage just yet.
Number 10, Cindy Crawford. Model and actress Cindy Crawford has called Oprah out over their 1986 interview that took place on her show, where Oprah asked the then 20-year-old to expose herself to the crowd. Crawford reflected on the interview in a new documentary called The Supermodels on Apple TV+. Everyone has a plus now. The documentary spotlights the career of several models like Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, and of course Cindy Crawford. In a clip from the documentary, Winfrey is heard introducing the then aspiring supermodel to the Oprah Winfrey Show before she asked her, "Did she always have this body? This is unbelievable. Stand up, now that's what I call a body." She is visibly uncomfortable and sheepishly stands up before the studio audience cheered as she showed off her figure. According to Cindy, she felt like a child in that moment, being told what to do by her superior. She felt that the moment was more of a show us why you're worthy of being here type situation. At the time, this is just one of those weird things that Oprah asked her to do, but it morphed and mutated into one of the most uncomfortable moments in her early years in modeling. The most shocking thing for her was the fact that this was Oprah Winfrey trying to tell her what to do. The woman known for her kindness and generosity made her feel like a puppet. Number 9, Seth MacFarlane. The creator of Family Guy and the TED series is not a fan of Miss Oprah Winfrey. During the whole 2020 situation with the masks and the isolation, you know what I'm talking about, Seth decided to share some words of wisdom about Oprah Winfrey. He started by acknowledging that Oprah had done some pretty altruistic things with her career, but that she used her platform to amplify the voices of outlandish characters rather than legitimate scientists or medical professionals. The post included a link to the LA Times that discussed the misinformation from Dr. Phil, and of course Dr. Oz. He was claiming that a ton of what was discussed on their shows was nothing more than misinformation and entertaining disasters. The Cash Me Outside girl, the purple guy who drank silver water like it was his job, and so many more that I can't actually talk about online. He called Oprah Winfrey out for starting as a legitimate show with the goal of educating and instead morphed into this misinformation platform. Number 8, Rose McGowan. A ton of A-listers out there will be on Oprah's side through thick and thin, just the way it is. However, Scream alumni and Me Too activist Rose McGowan is not one of those people. The former Charm star tweeted a photo from 2014 involving Oprah kissing the cheek of one of the most disgraced men in Hollywood history. Can't really say his name, but you know exactly who I'm talking about. The photo was taken from the 2014 Critics' Choice Movie Awards. She posted about on Twitter that she was glad to see the ugly truth about Oprah coming to light, and she said that she wished Oprah was real, but sadly she was not. According to Rose, she is as fake as they come, #lizard. Winfrey claimed that she did not know what was going on back then and regretted being so close to such a terrible man. A terrible man that I really wish we could talk about, but nope, that's not happening. Number 6, Kid Rock. So Kid has never really been shy about his opinions on anything, especially when it comes to Oprah. A while back, Kid Rock was escorted out of his own steakhouse in Nashville for ranting about Oprah in an alcohol-fueled tirade. He told TMZ that his PR team actually tried to get him on Oprah at one point, and apparently Oprah's team wanted Kid to write down 5 reasons why he loved their show. He then said F that and threw away the offer. Over the following years and to this day, he has tweeted his opinions and feelings towards Oprah, with the big summary being that he just doesn't vibe with her, literally saying that he could not explain why. Well, maybe it was because he didn't believe that she was nice or charitable, but that he was certain that she was secretly a menace, and look where we are now. Number 6, Mel Gibson. There has been a ton of misinformation spread across the internet since this whole Oprah situation has gone down. For a while, people really believed that Jason Momoa and Tom Hanks had inside information on Oprah, and that it needed to be shared with the world. But that was all a lie, and neither of those people ever said a word about Oprah. Another celebrity brought into the mix for some reason is Mel Gibson, a man fueled by controversy. For the past few weeks, clips and comments have been making their way across the globe, alleging that Mel Gibson has the inside scoop on Oprah's secret agenda, ready to share it with the world. But that once again turned out not to be true. In fact, it was just someone who really loves using AI to try and make content. In fact, Mel has spoken out about claiming that he has never received inside info on Oprah, and that he was fairly neutral on this so-called hate towards her. Number 5, Seal. This man may be known for his vocal chops, but he should also be known for meme-making abilities. Just days after the Golden Globes, Seal posted a meme on Instagram consisting of several photos of Oprah Winfrey cozying up with a man who I will not be naming. He's a guy who produced half of Quentin Tarantino's movies and was a main character of the Me Too movement that happened back in 2017. He and Oprah were photographed spending time together, and one photo even made it look like Oprah was pushing singer Rita Ora towards him. Seal captioned the image saying a bunch of stuff that I just cannot quote, but the meme itself read, "When you have been part of the problem for a decade, but suddenly they all think you are the solution. Well, I'm not sure how deep this feud goes, but on the surface it seems like Seal has been trying to warn us that something is up for years. Number 4, Ice Cube. Ice may have gotten his career thanks to his epic music chops, both as a solo artist as well as during his time with the NWA. But these days you probably know him as the guy from Ride Along or 21 Jump Street. Ice Cube started acting in movies in 1991, debuting in the film Boys in the Hood as Doughboy. He continued to act over and over again, starring in movies like Friday, Anaconda, and Are We There Yet? His dislike for Oprah comes from the fact that while he has starred in several films and has become more widely known for those films, she's never actually invited him onto the show. She's even asked his co-stars to appear rather than himself on multiple occasions. In 2006, Ice Cube expressed his frustrations, saying that his barbershop co-stars Cedric the Entertainer and Eve were all invited onto the show while he was left on the sidelines. He pointed out how crazy that is, the fact that she's had all these people with dark pasts and convictions, plus if he wasn't a rags to riches story, then who was? We did get a little piece of that story in the film Straight Outta Compton in 2015, a film that received massive critical success and that was never mentioned on Oprah's show. Number 3, Jason Momoa. Aquaman, the enemy of Don Toretto, and now the man speaking out on the Oprah Maui scandal, Jason Momoa is a gifted actor and by all accounts a gifted person too. Recently, several news outlets have claimed that Jason is on the opposing side of the fund. According to these outlets, Jason posted a video to Instagram where he addresses the fires and offers his own support to the victims. While never mentioning anyone by name, he mentions that some may use this as a way to exploit or make profit, but that is not his intentions. The clip went viral, and as you can guess, many outlets were interpreting everything that they could, with the big headlines being Jason Momoa calls out Oprah for wildfires. While not completely inaccurate, the general consensus is that there is no bad blood between these people. Jason has yet to specify who would actually be profiting from this, but since the backlash, he has been posting videos on a regular basis, updating his followers on the situation, and also his position in assisting with things so far. Of course, Jason has donated money to the People's Fund and has also teamed up with Dwayne Johnson to do public functions and collaborations to raise awareness and scrape together as much money for the people of Maui as possible. Number 2, Ludacris. Ludacris appeared on Oprah in 2004 to promote the film Crash. He claimed that Oprah ambushed him with criticism about hip-hop lyrics instead of talking about the critically acclaimed movie that he was there to plug. Ludacris has since claimed that Oprah edited the show to make herself seem more favorable to audience members. He said that during a separate interview that she had edited out a lot of his comments while keeping her own in. Of course, it is her show, but they were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave Ludacris a hard time as a rapper when he came on her show as an actor. He then revealed that his interview was extremely last minute, not knowing if it was a real thing roughly 24 hours before. Following the interview on Oprah, she pulled him aside to a green room where he claims to have been berated by her. According to Oprah, having a rapper on her show made her feel like she was empowering them. He said that it was like being at someone's house who really doesn't want you there, and at that point he had already been very uncomfortable, but that was a little cherry on top. Her main concern was his use of the N-word in lyrics, but he quickly pointed out the hypocrisy of having people like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock on the show. These guys were also famous for using the slur in their sets. Oprah's shadiness was on full display following that interview from Ludacris. Number 1, herself. Oprah is taking the top spot on a list of people exposing Oprah, because yes, she has been doing it since day one. Her talk show is all about bringing the most vulnerable people onto her show to get views. She's brought in violence victims, health experts, fake psychologists, and convicted felons onto her program, all for the sake of profit. As the years went by, her style was adapted by more and more studios, creating shows like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, both equally as controversial. Not to mention a few years ago when she wrote a book detailing her early life and rise to the top, revealing some truly dark truths about her home life. She herself was considered to be a tyrant by her family, but it seems that whatever negative juju lived in that house, it really rubbed off on her.
Kicking off the countdown list at number 10 is she gave away a fan's gift. One former Ellen fan tweeted out a story with photographic evidence that proved Ellen gave away her hard work. A girl named Danielle Acevedo tweeted out saying, "When I was 15 at the Ellen show, was doing a contest of fans making a bust of her and sending it to her. I worked so hard on this and even wrote her a letter. Weeks later, she used it as a prop in a game and gave it away to a random person with $500 attached to the bottom." In her tweet, she attached photos of her creating the art piece and then the screenshots from the episode where it was a prop in the game with 5 $100 bills taped to the bottom. Yikes. I mean, as a fan, that would be devastating because you obviously made it as a gift to Ellen, not to be given away to some of her other fans. Like, that was for Ellen. Coming into the number 9 spot spot is the time she almost got a waitress fired. A woman named Chris Farah shared her bad Ellen experience on Twitter and told the story when Ellen complained about her and almost had her fired. She said in her tweet that when she was working at a restaurant, she served Ellen and her wife Portia, and despite everything seeming okay, Ellen filed a complaint afterwards. Her tweet said, "I worked at Real Food Daily, served her and Portia at brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but just that it was on my hand. I had worked until closing the night before, and this was the next morning. It almost got me fired." Chris explained that she was a huge fan of Ellen, and when her manager pulled her into the office and asked if she served her, she thought maybe she was going to be getting on the show because she had told Ellen that she was an aspiring artist and comedian. But then, yeah, that wasn't the case at all. Oh, that would hurt. Swiping the number 8 spot is she told a celebrity not to talk to guests. A man named Josh Levesky told a story about his friend who used to work as a PA on her show. Apparently, the PA was chatting with the guest star of the day, Russell Brand, and it caused some tension. The tweet said, "Another friend of mine was a PA on her show, and when Russell Brand came into the employee break area to chat with the crew and hang out, Ellen came in and got mad at him, saying he didn't have to interact with those people. And that is why guests have their own area backstage." Clearly, Russell knows that he doesn't have to talk to anyone. If this story is true, I just don't understand why she would care. Ellen has always been very open and she always interacts with her guests and her audience. She dances with them. So why would she care? In spot number 7 is she left a pregnant woman with no benefits. A woman came forward and told a personal story about one of her close friends who worked for Ellen for over 5 years. She goes by the Twitter name Cassandra Tells You So and tweeted out the story saying, "After working for Ellen for over 5 years, close friend left to have a baby and found a different job on a union network with benefits, etc. Ellen begged her to return to work and then fired her after 1 week, no reason given, and my friend struggled for a long time with a new baby and no benefits." I'm left a little speechless after this one. I'm sure there is more to the story than just those few sentences, obviously. It sounds like there were a lot of factors involved, and I'm kind of hoping that this one isn't true, because obviously that's awful. Moving on, at number 6, we have the time she wanted specific food. It's no secret that Ellen is vegan and does a lot when it comes to fighting for animal rights. But one person said she went just a little too far when it came to wanting a specific vegan food item. A woman online came forward and said, "I was PAing for the Letterman special and her rider was 50 items long, and one was a specific vegan cauliflower puff that are rarely sold. So I had to drive to 15 different grocery stores to find it, and then she didn't even touch it." Yeah, that'd be annoying. I understand that you need a vegan menu if that's what your diet consists of because of allergies or your beliefs, but that specific of an item I get would be totally frustrating for a PA because I've been on movie sets before and stuff, so that's really annoying. I get it. We're halfway through and we have how she treats her staff. A writer who used to work for her named Benjamin Simon said that she didn't treat her staff very well and took a few examples to Twitter. One of his tweets said, "A new staff member was told every day she picks someone different to really hate. It's not your fault, just suck it up for the day and she'll be mean to someone else the next day." They didn't believe it, but it ended up being entirely true. He followed that tweet with another ridiculous claim saying that when she's in a bad mood, upper management will highly encourage them to go into her office and do a little comedy bit to help cheer her up. I mean, sometimes a laugh is what we need when we're having a bad day, but I did find a lot of stories online claiming that she doesn't treat her staff properly. So, rolling into number 4 is the time she got exposed by a hairdresser. A lot of these stories come from people who worked for her or through their friends who said that they had a bad experience with her. But a girl named Anastasia told the story that a hair salon in LA deemed Ellen as one of the rudest celebrities that goes in there. She tweeted out, "I lived in LA, got my hair done at Michi, where there were a lot of celebrities. I always asked employees who was the meanest, who was the nicest. Nice were Julia Roberts, Cameron Diaz, Rita Wilson. Mean were Ellen, overwhelming number, and Charlize Theron, saw firsthand." So this is coming from different hairdressers who have celebrities going in and out of there all the time. So this one's kind of interesting because it's like a totally outside perspective. We're coming to the 3rd spot and we have she asked a PA to give back their Christmas gift. Come on, I feel like this is way too petty to be true. But someone came forward and claimed that they were friends with a PA that this happened to. A user named Nick Weiger tweeted, "Friend was a PA on our show, got their first staff writer job and put in their notice with Ellen. Instead of congrats, they were told to give their Christmas gift back." He followed his first tweet by saying that she only gives gifts to the staff members that she likes. Like I said, some of these stories are a little too petty to be true, unless she really is that petty. I don't know. Sniping the number 2 spot is the time she shut down a barbecue. This one is another example of a time when her passion for veganism came through. A wardrobe expert and best-selling author Alison Freer took her story to Twitter and said, "I was working on a show at Warner Brothers that was next to her stage. It was our showrunner's 50th birthday. There was a caterer grilling steaks outside for a special fancy lunch. Ellen sent someone over to demand they stop as she doesn't eat meat. She's the worst." This is how I see it. She's able to have her vegan lifestyle the same way that meat eaters can have their lifestyle. By them barbecuing outside, it doesn't mean that you have to eat it. I mean, I'm sure you've been to a restaurant where they're cooking meat in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Finally, we have made it to number 1, and we have the time that she compared quarantine to jail. This happened recently, and people online started attacking the comedian and exposing her for taking a joke too far. During quarantine, Ellen decided to keep her talk show going through YouTube videos, like us, and one of them caused her to remove it from social media. In one of her videos, she made a comment saying, "One thing that I've learned from being in quarantine is that people, this is like being in jail. It is what it is. It's mostly because I've been wearing the same clothes for 10 days and everyone in here is gay." It wasn't long before the joke was being slammed all over the internet. One person called her out and said, "Disappointed in Ellen for joking about being in jail while she sits in her multi-million-dollar mansion with access to anything she wants. Many of us are struggling to get essentials and are exposed on the front lines, but please continue exercising your privilege." That was just one response, guys, all right? The YouTube video was listed unavailable not long after the backlash started.
Number 10, an advocate for Maui. Oprah has been claiming to be many things since this Maui backlash thing has started. A good boss, a charitable woman, and an advocate for the island of Maui. By starting this fund and donating her spare millions, she's made her mark in the public as a woman who cares. So much so that she's asking you to give her your money. Isn't that nice? As mentioned in previous videos, Oprah would not care about Maui or its people if she didn't have a vested stake on the island. Oprah has had property in Maui for quite some time, being almost a second home to her. When the fire started raging, she started fundraising. Think about all of the things that have happened in the past few years. We all forgot about Australia being set on fire in 2020. A lot of Western Canada was on fire earlier this year, and some parts of Florida have been underwater for a long time, and they just kind of live with it. Yet Oprah has dedicated her time and money to helping out the area where she has a vacation home. Do with that what you will. Number 9, the NDAs. Confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Marvel will literally track you down if you say anything about their movies to anyone. In Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions there were confidentiality agreements that co-workers and guests were made to sign. This included everyone from Tom Cruise to the guy who made his breakfast in the morning. Over 500 staff members were forced to sign these documents, with one former employee, Elizabeth Cody, trying to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was eventually stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to just keep show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. According to Elizabeth, the document was signed by almost everybody in Oprah's life, and she may have had this brand of sweetness and kindness, but that it was just not how she was. Elizabeth felt that she was in Oprah's pocket after she signed the paperwork. In 2010, there was even a lawsuit filed against Oprah and her company from a training performance center that was claiming that they were fired for violating the terms of her agreement, but all they did was just advertise that they were doing stuff for her show, so I'm not sure what's wrong there. Number 8, diva. On air, Oprah is portrayed as this wholesome, sweet lady, but according to her stepmother, there's actually this unknown side to Oprah, hidden from fans for years. According to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people that you're ever gonna meet. She claims that Oprah does not allow herself and her husband to stay at Oprah's home whenever they try to visit, which means that they have to stay in hotels with money out of their own pockets. Barbara also said that Oprah was very quick to anger when it came to her staff especially, with a lot of people being fired over the years left and right for the littlest thing. things. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara allows Oprah to stay at her home when she visits, which she just complains about the entire time. The first time she ever stayed there, Oprah allegedly complained that her bed sheets weren't 1,000 threads and that her bath towel wasn't big enough, but that's fair. This woman has billions of dollars to do literally anything she wants, and what she wants to do is make her family feel like a burden to the world. Number 7, controversial beliefs. Oprah has had plenty of controversial people onto her show, from so-called medical experts to psychologists to celebrities. Whatever's good for TV, it's good for Oprah. One particular incident that caused a ton of backlash for Oprah was when she did an interview with Suzanne Summers. She was brought onto the show to share her beauty secrets on how she was able to look so young. According to Summers, this treatment that she does on a regular basis would help people. She claimed that she rubs estrogen cream into her skin on one arm and smears progesterone into the other arm. Progesterone is just a fancy way of saying steroids. She also claimed that she took 60 supplements and vitamins a day, 40 in the morning and 20 before bed. What really stirred the pot was that this woman claimed to be a health expert and self-help author, but surprise, surprise, doctor, she was not. Medical experts started bashing Oprah, claiming that this type of extreme hormone therapy was actually the cause of several diseases and illnesses, like cancer. Despite Suzanne's claims that her specially made non-FDA approved bioidenticals were natural and safe, they were actually just synthetic conventional hormones that you could buy from a pharmacy. A little label smacked on the front. Oprah did everything in her power to sell this idea to her audience, believing 100% that these methods were useful, even claiming to have used the methods to make herself feel incredible. So Oprah would rather risk her audience getting cancer than telling them the truth. Solid. Number 6. The free cars. Who could forget Oprah's famous words? You get a car, you get a car, everybody got a car. The moment was historical on her series and was parodied time and time again, and it still does to this day. However, what a lot of people do not know is that it wasn't as simple as here's some car keys, go have fun. That would be insane. No, when someone gives you anything on television, especially if it's free, there's a catch. For Oprah's audience, the catch was that if they wanted to drive away in their brand new car, they'd have to pay over $7,000 in taxes first. While Oprah's studio would cover the sales tax and registration for the cars, their audience members were given a choice to either pay $7 grand and take the car, or just simply keep that cash instead. The famous moment she shouted this on the show featured 11 real teachers who were, according to Oprah, in desperate need of a new car. They, along with the audience members, received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be for their new cars. Everything has a catch though, even now. For someone who was known for being charitable and generous, the word free really does mean something different to Oprah. Number 5. The fabricated memoirs. This is a time when Oprah kind of ruined someone's life when she brought them onto her show. Oprah launched her book club in 1996, a reading encouraging segment from her talk show that turned any book that she chose into a bestseller. In September 2005, Winfrey picked A Million Little Pieces, a brutal and painful memoir by James Frett about his years-long struggle with substance control issues. A Million Little Pieces became the best-selling nonfiction book of that year, and Frey was asked to appear on her talk show to discuss the book that Oprah called gut-wrenching. However, the following year, a news outlet ran a very expositive article about Frey after it was discovered that he made up or juiced large portions of his memoir. For example, there is a section of the book that tells a story of Frey surviving a fatal train crash that took the lives of 2 teenagers. Well, he was never on that train and he didn't have anything to do with that situation. He just wrote about it and was like, I was there. Weeks after the article broke, Oprah asked Frey to return to the show, where he faced livid viewers and an even more livid Oprah. She told James that she felt duped and betrayed, which was a feeling that was shared by her audience and millions of readers around the world. When she asked James why he felt the need to lie to herself and her readers, he tried everything, making every excuse he could think of, and he claimed that he altered a lot of details, but that the overall plot was real. Well, the studio audience responded with a massive wave of boos, gasps, and groans, and Winfrey later apologized for the mistreatment from her audience, because that wasn't her intention. But the damage was already done, and this dude's career as a writer is non-existent. Number 4. Lance Armstrong. 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong has gone down in history as a man who's unable to ride a bike without chemical training wheels. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013, Lance was brought on to discuss the allegations floating around regarding his status as a Tour de France winner. Several sources claimed that Lance had to take performance-enhancing substances to win each and every race, as well as a type of transfusion involving the red life juice that flows inside all of us. Armstrong went on air and fessed up to every single thing that people were claiming claiming he had done. However, he did deny the notion that he was like a mastermind who would control his teammates and force them to join in his extracurricular activities. But amidst his admission of guilt, say that 10 times fast, there was a moment where he tried to pin the situation on his battle with cancer. He wraps it up by saying that he should have tried harder to cancel the culture rather than to create a problem. Well, unfortunately for him, he was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles and has since lived in exile among the cycling community. Number 3, where's the beef? In spring of 1996, the United Kingdom apparently experienced an outbreak of bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or mad cow disease, since I can't pronounce that last word. According to the FDA, the disease destroys cows' central nervous system, and if humans eat the infected meat, you get zombies that can't. No, you can contract a deadly variant called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, probably named after the first dude who got the disease. During the mad cow scare, the Oprah Winfrey Show booked Howard Lyman. The former cattle rancher had adopted a vegetarian lifestyle, and he went to work for the Humane Society's Eating with Co-Science Animal Welfare campaign, and he appeared on the show to discuss the threat of mad cows to America. He pointed out that feeding the remains of mad cow to infected cattle or other animals could have facilitated the spread, and that a lot of that was happening in the US right then and there. Oprah was stunned and vowed that she would never eat another burger ever again. Well, it turns out her influence and her millions of viewers were so large that only a few hours after the episode aired and she declared that she wasn't eating hamburgers ever again, the price of beef stock plummeted, staying at an all-time low for 2 months. In fact, one Texas rancher lost an estimated $6.7 million and organized a class action lawsuit against Oprah and her show for talking trash about beef. After a 6-week trial, she won, leaving one dude with no farm and out hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. Number 2, trespasser. So, there's a video circulating the internet that a lot of people are interpreting as a direct message to Oprah Winfrey. Jason Momoa released a video on his Instagram a few weeks ago urging tourists not to come to Maui as the place was on fire and, they didn't need anybody's help. He claimed that he appreciated anyone sharing love for the people of Maui and continued to say that there was someone trying to scam people out of money that was pretending to be him online. After sharing links to several sites that were directly linked to putting money into the pockets of the people of Maui, fans decided to focus on the bit about people staying away. Now, at the same time that this was happening, Oprah and The Rock had announced the People's Fund of Maui, and the thing was that caused a lot of backlash for Oprah. And in Jason's video, he does not include a link to the charity and doesn't even acknowledge its existence. He has since spoken about the charity, but has never actually said the names Oprah or Dwayne out loud. People are just putting 2 and 2 together though, and the internet has decided that Jason Momoa has called Oprah Winfrey a trespasser. Number 1, Whoopi Goldberg. In author Kitty Kelly's unauthorized Oprah biography, Kelly claims that Whoopi Goldberg became a persona non grata, or an unwelcome person in Oprah's life, after Whoopi was nominated for an Oscar for her role in The Color Purple. The book noted that following the honor, the comedian never appeared on Oprah's show again and was noticeably shunned from her 2006 Legends Ball. It wasn't until Oprah invited the entire cast of The Color Purple onto the show that the so-called feud was addressed. It turns out that Oprah had actually ran into Whoopi at Tyler Perry's party sometime after the 2006 snub. Goldberg confronted Oprah, leading to a hilariously adorable moment where Oprah asked why Whoopi was mad at her, to which Whoopi was like, "I'm not mad at you, I thought you were mad at me, what's going on here?" They mutually agreed that they really should have just picked up the phone a long time ago and figured the whole thing out and settled the dispute.
Starting us off at number 10 is Elton John. It's been more than 20 years since Ellen first came out as a lesbian, but she still holds on to that moment and opened up about a shocking story. During the period that followed her shocking news, she received a ton of backlash for it, and one person who had a lot to say about it was Elton John. When he did an interview and they asked him about his thoughts on the news, he said, I quote, "Shut up already, we know you're gay, be funny." Elton too is gay and admits that everyone at that time was talking about it and he was just getting kind of sick of it. He wanted her to focus on her role as a comedian and less about her sexuality. It was still a little harsh. I mean, we gotta be honest. I feel like there's a better way of saying that. They seem to work through their issues now, but there was a time when tensions were very high. Up next, number 9 is Wendy Williams. Their issues with each other seem a little petty and has always remained in their professional lives, not so much in their personal. Even though Wendy has been on Ellen's show a few times, Wendy's never invited Ellen on hers. Wendy's often blamed for using harsh words and expressions on her show against Portia de Rossi, who happens to be Ellen's wife. Even when Portia first came out, reports say that Wendy approached her on the red carpet and asked her to comment on the recent story going around that she was getting close with a woman in a jacuzzi. Portia was not open about her relationship with Ellen during that time, and apparently Wendy knew about that. So since then, the two of them have taken shots at each other during interviews. Sometimes it seems like a joke, while other times it's kind of hard to tell and it just leaves like this awkward tension. Kind of like the time when Wendy told Ellen that people think that she looks like Justin Bieber. She's not wrong. That meme does go around the internet, but still a little awkward. Rolling into number 8 is Piers Morgan. Ellen swears that she was just being funny when she tweeted out a birthday message for Katie saying, "Happy birthday, Katie. It's time to bring out the big balloons." But it was followed by an image of Ellen gawking and staring directly at Katie's breasts. Fans were not impressed with the tweet and said that it was a double standard, which then sparked double standard to start trending as a hashtag on Twitter. Even fellow celebrities joined in to use the hashtag, and Piers Morgan was one of them. He was furious with her so-called joke and tweeted out, "If a man made this joke, Ellen would lead the cries of sexist pig." He was very passionate about this. I can feel his anger with that tweet, but you know what? I understand. I totally get where this whole double standard thing is coming from. Sliding into number 7 is Kim Burrell. People actually had Ellen's side on this one because Kim made a statement that was super offensive to the LGBTQ community. During a sermon at her church in Houston, Texas, she referred to homosexuality as the perverted homosexual spirit. After the video footage went viral online, Ellen banned her from coming to the show. She was actually supposed to sing on her show alongside Pharrell Williams later that week, but Ellen tweeted, "For those asking, Kim Burrell will not be appearing on my show." Kim posted a response video and said she makes no excuses or apologies for her comments and said that she was simply saying that homosexuality is a sin in her religion. She said she does not hate people of the LGBTQ, but said that it goes against the nature of God, which she obviously is very passionate about. Moving on to number 6, we have Giada De Laurentiis. Now, it could be Giada because it's very Italian, so I'm probably butchering it. For years, she has been sharing her cooking secrets on the Food Network, and if you've watched her show, then you know that she always pronounces different Italian food with an Italian accent. But she did a cooking segment on Ellen's show where she whipped up some pasta for her, and Ellen started poking fun at her for her pronunciation. Giada was not having it, so she gave Ellen a tutorial on how to properly say penne and spaghetti. She should probably give me that tutorial because I'm sure it sounds very different. This isn't the first time that there's been this like awkward tension between them. She actually went on her show in 2017 where she made food for Ellen and Nicole Kidman, and they both kind of made these negative comments and jokes about her so-called bad cooking. And when you do that as your profession, it's definitely insulting. You never insult the chef on live television. Halfway through at number 5 is Sherri Shepherd. She has a personal issue with Ellen because she was banned from her show due to her evolving stance on gay marriage. Keep in mind the word evolving. The comedian appeared on the first season of Ellen but was banned after she made comments on The View saying that she was once against gay marriage. Sherri had nothing bad to say about Ellen, but she's very hurt with her decision to not invite her back on the show. She said, "The views and thoughts that I had evolved from the statements I had on The View over 10 years ago, and I now support same-sex marriage and partnerships." People were quick to call Ellen a hypocrite for always claiming that she can be friends with people who share different views than her. Coming in hot number 4 is Benjamin Simon. The famous TV writer made bold claims on Twitter saying that Ellen is not very nice to her coworkers and employees. He exposed different stories from her show and said that, I quote, "She has a sensitive nose, so everyone must chew gum from a bowl outside of her office before talking to her. And if she thinks you smell that day, you have to go home and shower." Quite the accusation, right? That was just one example. He actually tweeted out 5 more after that. For the sake of this video, I will not read out all 6 of them, but even the first one is enough to know that he does not think too highly of her, especially if he is willing to expose her like that, or try to expose her like that, if it's true or not. Alright guys, we made to number 3, and we have Jamila Jamil. The actress got into messy Twitter drama involving Ellen back in 2019 after Ellen was seen buddying up with George Bush at a Dallas Cowboys game. At first, Jamila applauded Ellen for her speech on accepting everyone despite their beliefs, and said that she was actually impressed with how she handled it. But then she took all of her tweets back after learning more about the former president and tweeted out, "What a monstrous leader leader. I now understand the rage. So she was once backing up Ellen's decision to be friends with him, but then she was quick to join the rest of the world, who was furious about it. In spot number 2 is Liza Minnelli. Back in 2014, Ellen was the host of the Oscar Awards, and during her opening monologue, she cracked jokes about Liza, who did not find it all that funny. In her speech, she said, "Hello to the best Liza Minnelli impersonator I've ever seen." And then, as the cameras panned over to Liza, who was in the audience, Ellen said, "Good job, sir." Of course, Liza would be upset by that. She later told TMZ, "I think Ellen thought it would be funny, but she never stopped after she said it and said, 'My friend, Liza Minnelli.' I think it went a little astray on her." She didn't have any rude comments to say about Ellen and said that she always thought Ellen was wonderful, but the joke was a little too far. That is how you ruin friendships, Ellen. Winning first place on our list is Eric Trump. I thought that putting Donald Trump at number 1 would be too obvious because it is no secret that Ellen despises him and that they've been very open about their feelings towards each other. They're not friends. Turns out though, like father, like son, Eric Trump doesn't like her either. Back in 2018, he made a very unusual claim on Twitter. He shared a screenshot of his Twitter follow suggestions, which read Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Ellen. He hashtagged it #DeepState, which refers to this conspiracy theory that there's a secret group of people who coordinate efforts to try and delegitimize the Trump administration. Ellen banned him from coming to her show, not that he would be invited, and did what she does best in response to all of it. She made jokes about it.